Hello, in this video, I want to go through all the cards that I would include if I was going to build an Aang at the Crossroads commander deck. Focused on balancing our commander to take advantage of that look at the top 4 creature, and if a creature leaves the battlefield, transform it. So we're going to transform it constantly, we're going to balance our commander all the time to re-get that enter the battlefield ability. First, I would include Aang Swift Survivor. For 1, a red and a blue with a legendary creature, human avatar ally. It's a 2/3. With flash and flying. Whenever it enters, you airbend up to 1 target creature or spell. This is another good card that you can flicker. When you flicker it, you can deal with spells and postpone them. And our deck is going to be focused on a lot of flickering. So instant speech flickering is going to be very good with this card. And then, of course, you can waterbend 8 to make it into a 5/5 trample. And then whenever it attacks, it puts a pulse counter each tapped creature you control. We're going to have a lot of little creatures. Of course, our commander can the Dignity come on our turn, Earthbend 2, so we'll put more plus and piston counters on our lands. Airbender Ascension. For 1 white and a 1, when this enchantment enters, and airbend up to 1 target creature. Whenever a creature you control enters, put a quest counter on it at the beginning of your end step. If this enchantment has 4 more quest counters on it, exile to 1 target creature you control, then it returns to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is another way you can flicker every single one of our end steps after 4 things leave the battlefield. Now, it immediately airbends up to 1 target creature, so you just have to do 3 more. And there's a creature entering under your control. So, flickering, casting spells, making tokens, all kinds of things you can use to flicker to continuously flicker our commander around. Appa, Steadfast Guardian for 2 and a white and another white. It's a 3/4 flash flyer. When it enters, airbend any number of target non-land permanents you control. And whenever you cast a spell from exile, make a 1/1 white ally. So your tokens you can use to waterbend, you have tokens you can use to convoke. I have a convoke card in this list. But being able to airbend and retake advantage of a ton of enter the battlefield abilities is really nice. Avis's Pilgrim. Kind of interesting to include little mana creatures in one of my deck lists, but I do think that it's important to note that all of these little mana dorks you can get off of that first ability on our commander. When it enters into the top 5 cards of your library, we put a creature card with mana value 4 or less from on them onto the battlefield, put the rest onto the bottom of your library in a random order. I think that this is a deck list that's going to want a higher number of creatures to tap for mana than colorless rocks that tap for mana. I think you're still going to want some of those, but you're not going to play Signets. You're going to play Abysson's Pilgrim. You're going to play Llanowar Elf Effects. You're going to play Bloom Tenders. You're going to play those kind of cards, but you can always make sure that Flickering Aim guarantees you hit something. Avatar's Wrath is 2, a white and a white for a sorcery. Choose up to 1 target creature, then airbend all other creatures. Until your next turn, your opponents can cast spells from anywhere other than their hand, then you exile it. So you have the potential of doing a lot more into the battlefield, and you can really slow your opponent's step. Badger Mole Cub for 1 green and a 1. When this creature enters or spend 1, whenever you tap a creature for mana, add additional green. Again, I think this deck is going to have a higher number than average of cards you're going to want to tap for mana. Llanowar Elf, Bloom Tenders, Abysson's Pilgrims, but also being able to continuously airbend more creatures. Those are creatures you can flicker to have lands re-enter if you want to play a more landfall-focused build. Earthbending 2 onto a land, you can now flicker it with any of your flicker target creature spells, and then you can have a land re-enter. So, Birds of Paradise, you need to tap for mana. Bloom Tender, you're using them to tap for mana. Really, this is not what you want to be hitting off of Aang, but you want to make sure you always hit something. Bloom Tender is a great one because it can add multiple colors. 3 total if you have your commander play. Chameleon, Master of Disguise, 3 and a blue. You may have it enter as a copy of a creature you control, except for its name is Chameleon, which means you can have it enter as a copy of Aang, which is really nice. Court of Calling, search your library for a creature card with mana value X, the last part of the battlefield shuffle. If you're playing a flicker deck, you can build a little bit of a toolbox. You can put Eternal Witness in the deck. You can put Reclamation Sage. You look at whatever you want to get. Go grab your copy spells. Lots of things you could grab. If you want to play a combo-based deck, Court of Calling House Blue. Your combo pieces. Clever Impersonator. Let me take a step back. I think Court of Calling is also really good if you want to build a combo deck because you bouncing Aang will guarantee, and if you have multiple of the same kind of effects, where your combo can be done with creatures with mana value 4 or less, they can help you get that. Clever Impersonator is 2, a blue and a blue. It enters as a copy of target non-land criminal on the battlefield. You can copy Aang, copy your own stuff, can copy your opponent's stains also. Cloud Shift, exile target creature, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control. This is one of those flicker spells I was talking about. Crop Rotation, super good with your Earthbending things. You can sacrifice the land, just sacrifice your Earthbending 2. Land comes back, and you can get any land from your deck. Any land, does not have to be a basic. Lighted Halfling, Displacer Kitten, mana value 4 or less, cast a non-creature spell, you get to flicker something. So even if your non-creature spell doesn't flicker something, it's just like a counter spell. It's pretty good. You also get that flicker off of it. Earthbender Ascension for a green 2. When this enchantment enters Earthbend 2, then search your library for a basic line card, put onto battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. Whenever a land you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. When you do, if it has 4 or more quest counter value, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control against trample until end of turn. This is a good thing to flicker. You cannot get this with Aang, but it makes more landfall triggers, which your deck is going to be earthbending. That gives land creatures you control vigilance, which will be nice, and then just getting basic lands, earthbending, yeah, does a lot. Emil the Blessed for 2, a white, and a white. It's a 4/4. You can pay 3, exile another target creature control, and return the back to the under one's control. Get all flicker. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a green or a white. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. If it's unicorn, put 2 instead. Really, the ability to pay 3 and then flicker something is going to do what you want off of this. Flickering your commander, having it re-enter, getting something mana value 4 or less for 3 mana is pretty good. So being able to flicker it that way is great. Enlightened Tutor can go get any of your flicker, Conjure's Closet type effects. Ephemerate can flicker something twice. Esper Sentinel can be gotten off Aang. It's also just a nice, powerful card. Essence Flux, flicker something if it happened to be a spirit. I don't even think there are any spirits in the deck. You put a ++ counter on it, but just the ability to instant be flicker it is nice. Eternal Witness, when it enters, you may return target card from giver to your hand. A good synergy piece. A good answer to a situation. You flicker Aang hoping to get something. This can go return that board wipe from your graveyard. Felidar Guardian, when it enters, you may exile another target permanent you control and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Felidar Stone, you're playing 3 colors. The chances of your opponents not also participating in any of those 3 colors is very slim. Finale of Devastation, green X. Search your library graveyard for a creature card with mana value X or less. Put onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control to +X/+X and gain haste until that turn. So, go get whatever piece you need to finish out your combo. Flesh Duplicate. Blue. You may have it enter as the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except for it has Vanishing 3, if that creature doesn't have Vanishing. So, it's a temporary thing, but if you're constantly flickering this, it doesn't really matter if it has Vanishing 3. Ghostly Flicker flickers 2 things. Glasspool Mimic can enter as a land, but if you just keep flickering it, if you have it enter as copies of things, then it's pretty good. It's a really nice card in these flicker decks. Haru Hidden Talent for 1 green and a 1. It's a 1/1 when another ally enters, outspend 1. You're going to be flickering your commander a lot. That's a lot of allies entering. Icewinged Stalwart for white 3. It's a 3/3 when it enters. Exile to 1 target non-warrior creature you control to return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So you can just flicker this and then use this to be flickering Aang, which doubles the amount of enter the battlefield you have going on. Jarari Shapeshifter can enter as a copy of any ally. That's our commander. Katara the Fearless. You triggered ability of an ally you control triggers. That ability triggers additional time. You're going to choose Aang. Llanowar Elves, already said why it's good. Mystic Remora, if you're playing this kind of build, you're playing against a higher bracket level table. Nature of War can go get any force. It does not have to just be a basic. Noble Hierarch, you want to make sure you're always hitting your drops. Han Harmonicon, if an artifact or creature entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability to permanent to trigger, it triggers twice. Or additional times, that's twice. It's good with Aang. Path to Exile, gotta have removal. Phantasmal Image, you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of any creature on the battlefield except for it's an illusion. And when this becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So you can flicker with this, but it could be any creature on the battlefield, so it has its upsize. Phyrexian Metamorph, you may have this creature enter the battlefield as a copy of any artifact or creature on the battlefield except for it's an artifact. Another thing you can copy off Aang, plus it has 4 or less. Phantasmal Image also has 4 or less. So you could bounce Aang, get an image, have an enter as Aang, and you're going to re-get the ability. Same with Metaphor. You can bounce Aang. Metamorph goes, okay, I'm going to have a copy of Aang. Oh, it has 4 mana value, so you get it off your deck. Okay, and you can just keep going. Preston the Vanisher, also mana value 4 or less. And another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control. If it wasn't cast, make a token copy of it, except for it's a 0/1. Great in a flicker build, getting tons of Aang triggers. Restoration Angel, 3 and a white flash flyer. When this creature enters, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield you control. You flicker Aang, it gets the angel flickers Aang, and you can do it all over again. Heuristic Study. Roaming Throne, choose allies, and all of your ally abilities will trigger twice. So really, you're trying to play Aang, and then cast a bunch of clones. Shakashima of 1,000 Faces, same thing. It becomes a copy of something, except for the legend rule doesn't apply, so that's nice. Shakashima the Imposter. As it comes into play, you may choose a creature in play. If you do, it comes into play as a copy of that creature, except for its name is still Shakashima the Imposter. It's still legendary, and it gains 2 blue, return it to its owner's hand at the end of the turn. So, again, you're casting Aang, you're flickering it, you're just getting a ton of copies off the top. Shared Roots, if you want a lesson. Soul Ring, 2 colorless. Soul Herder, beginning of your end step, you may exile another target creature controlled or return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Spark Double, also mana value 4 or less, also a creature card. Flicker Aang, you get Spark Double, you make a ton of copies of it. It reminds me of the Gyruda decks back in, like, when Ikoria came out, where you cast Gyruda and you just keep casting a bunch of clones. Starfield Vocalist, if a permanent entering the battlefield causes the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers additional time. Now you have 2 ink triggers, and your copies do 2. Stunt Double, enters a copy of anything, mana value 4 or less. It's a creature. Swan Song, you need to protect yourself. Swords of Plowshares, also need to protect yourself. Teleportation Circle, beginning of your end step, you may flicker target artifact or creature you control. It's good if you want to start the chain again. That's the same thing. You have your end step, exile to 1 target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. 3 visits, can go get any forest. Toph, the Blind Bandit, when it enters, Earthbend 2. Its power is equal to the number of plus counters on lands you control. Waxen Sheet Thief, 3 and 8 blue. Flash, may have this creature enters a copy of any artifact or creature you control, and you can cycle it away. Worldly Tutor can go get any creature put on top of your deck. Flicker Aang, you get to cast it for free. Those are all the cards that I would include if I was going to build an Aang the Crossroads clone-based commander deck. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I also included a deck list of all the cards that I talked about, plus some of the lands that you could include. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and may your top decks be ever in your favor. Thank you.